Degrassi fans, and welcome to the Degrassi Kid podcast, where each week we break down the history and impact of our favorite teen TV show. I'm Jocelyn, and this season we're breaking down The Mother of All Degrassi by Linda Schuyler. Linda's memoir takes us behind the scenes of Degrassi, telling us stories of how the show got made, the importance of honesty and storytelling, and how the Kids of Degrassi Street turned into a 40-year franchise that's still recognized around the world. In Chapter 4, we learn about Degrassi's very first episode called Ida Makes a Movie. It follows a young girl who enters a filmmaking competition. She wins, but later finds out the judges misunderstood her movie. Ida is faced with a tough decision. Does she tell the truth and risk losing her award? Or does she not say anything? I mean, it's not her fault they misunderstood her film, right? Linda tells us that CBC loved Ida Makes a Movie, and they wanted 2 more just like it. Originally, these sequels were called Ida Goes to the Hospital and Ida Gets a New Neighbor. But Linda and her partner Kit Hood wondered if this was a good idea. Ida was a 9-year-old girl who wasn't even sure she wanted to be an actress. Should all of that big responsibility fall on her little tiny shoulders? Instead, Linda and Kit decided their stories should be about Ida's friends, changing it from Ida Goes to the Hospital and Ida Gets a New Neighbor to Cookie Goes to Hospital and Irene Moves In. This small decision would change the entire franchise of Degrassi. Having an ensemble cast instead of just a couple main characters would become something that's fundamental to the way Degrassi tells its stories. And today, I want to introduce you to one of those characters. Today, we're catching up with Irene from Irene Moves In. The story, which is now 42 years old, follows a young Asian girl as she moves to 95 Degrassi Street. Irene meets Ida, Cookie, and Noel as they have mixed reactions about a new kid joining in on all their fun. Irene was played by Nancy Lamb, a young first-time actress who only appeared on 4 episodes of The Kids of Degrassi Street. Back then, Degrassi was only producing 1 episode every year, and really, they were more like standalone short films rather than a series like we'd see today. So, what is Nancy up to now? How does she reflect on playing an original character on the Kids of Degrassi Street? And what did Asian representation look like for Nancy when she was growing up? This week, we're sitting down with Nancy Lamb to talk all things Degrassi, but first, let's listen in to Irene's opening scene from the Kids of Degrassi Street.
Hi, everybody. Hi, my name is Irene. My name's Cookie, that's Ida, and that's Noel. What are you doing? We're making a sign for a club. We have a club, but it's a secret.
Way to go, Cookie. It's a private club for special members.
How can I join? You have to be asked. What do you do for fun around here? We play. Would you like to play at my house? Now?
Cookie, we have to finish the sign.
I have to finish the sign. How about tomorrow? Okay, after school. What time should I pick you up? 4:45.
Nancy, welcome to the Degrassi Kid podcast. I'm so excited to chat with you.
Thank you for having me. This is fun.
This is so exciting. I want to share with the Degrassi fans, how does a super fan get connected with someone who's on Degrassi? And I think this is such a cute story. You basically shared a photo of you and Zoe Newman, who played Ida Lucas on Degrassi. You shared it to the Mother of All Degrassi social media pages. And I was like, oh my God, I have to reach out to Nancy and see if she'll do my podcast. And overwhelmingly, you were like, yeah, let's get together and do it.
Happy to. It's kind of fun to tap the past in that way.
Yeah, exactly. Do you still keep in touch with Zoe? Have you guys been friends this whole time?
No, well, actually, that was the first time we'd actually gotten together. Okay, no, that's not true. She came to my book launch.
Oh.
Yeah, which was really lovely. And then that was the first dinner we'd had, or the first gathering we'd had since we were on TV together.
Oh my God, which was up to 40 years ago now, right?
Totally, yeah, that's crazy.
Wow, oh my God. Is there anyone from Degrassi that you kept in touch with at all?
No, and not sort of intentionally or unintentionally, right? It's just, you grow up, you start living your life, and and you're a kid and you don't have much, control over where you live or who you call or so much, right?
Yeah.
So no, unfortunately, I have not. I would love to see them, but no, I haven't.
Yeah, we need a Kids of Degrassi Street reunion. That would be incredible.
The fellow who played Noel, Peter Duckworth Pilkington III,
yep.
went to my elementary school.
Oh.
So he was a year older than me, but I don't know where he went, like for junior high, right?
Oh, that is so interesting. He also has a big section in Linda's book because she uses him as an example of how she wanted to hire real kids. And she tells a story of how CBC said, oh, no, we don't want you to use Peter. We have this like athletic boy with blonde hair. We want you to cast him. And Linda said, no, we're keeping Peter. He's perfect for Noel. We have to keep him. So I love that you guys went to school together. That's so cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. He was a nice kid. Yeah, very genuine, right? Like just a little bit into his own thing and not worried about what the world thinks sort of thing.
Exactly. And perfect for Degrassi.
Yeah, I think so.
One of the crazy things about Degrassi now is it's being streamed all over the world, but the Kids of Degrassi Street, you can't find it online unless you go searching and searching. So I wanted to do something fun for the new people who haven't watched the Kids of Degrassi Street. I'd like to kind of recap what your episodes were on the show and see if you have any behind the scenes facts to share. Does that sound cool?
Sure, if I can remember all of them. Everything's jumbled in my head now. Right?
I know. I don't think I could remember back to what my life was like in like grade 4, 5, or 6. So I will be impressed if you remember anything.
There are highlights. You know how certain memories stick?
Yeah.
They're definitely highlights.
One thing that I think is a fun fact about you is that, you know, you're known for being Irene, you know, Irene Moves In, Irene, the kid from Degrassi Street, but you actually started as a different character in Cookie Goes to Hospital. You started as Sarah. Do you have any memories of starting to work on the show, filming that episode or anything like that?
I totally remember that episode, actually. Oh my gosh. I remember wearing a nightgown that I got dirty during the lunch break.
Working with kids.
And we had ribs. I think we had ribs, right? How do you not get ribs on your shirt? I don't know why I remember this. Dawn Harrison, who played Cookie.
Yes.
She's really sweet. She's really nice. But I remember doing the shot in the hospital room. And I was just, they were going, oh, you can color this or you do whatever. So I was, you know, furiously coloring or whatever. And they're going, you can't actually be coloring. You got to look up so we can see it. So they were going, can you sort of pretend to color and look this way? They stand out in my mind. I don't know why.
Nancy, this is the part of the podcast where I say thank you to all of my brand new Patreon subscribers. I'd like to say thank you to Tyler and Sam for their annual subscription to the Degrassi Kid Patreon. They don't have to worry about monthly payments anymore. They're locked in for a full year of Degrassi Kid content. So thank you guys. On the dot tier, we're welcoming Ice Turtle Girl, Matthew James, Pat Johnson, and Ashton, who are all getting perks for the Degrassi Kid Discord. Anyone on Patreon gets unlimited access to the Degrassi Kid Discord page, and you can find the link in the description. If you want a community of like-minded people who love Degrassi, then come check it out. Next, I want to welcome Mackenzie Russell, Megan Letty, Cody Skiff, and Jess to the Ultimate Degrassi Fan tier, and Christina Mazzullo, Charlie Usher, Mina Malloy, Daniela Strange, and Isabel, who are now getting Degrassi packages from me every single month. All of you have made it possible for me to start a brand new season of the Degrassi Kid podcast, and I thank you so much for making this season so fun. But for now, let's catch back up with Nancy Lamb to talk all things Degrassi. Or do you remember how you went from playing Sarah in Cookie Goes to Hospital, playing Irene and Irene Moves In? Do you remember how that transition happened?
So I think I got cast for Irene Moves In, but they needed an extra for Cookie, right? So they were planning. You were planning Irene Moves In, but the Cookie Goes to Hospital was already underway.
Oh, I never would have guessed that.
Yeah. So as a result, they said, oh, well, we already have her. So why don't we just, use her, I guess, right? For this one too.
I love that. That's one of the fun things about watching the early Degrassi is it's like really just pieced together on the fly. And like Linda's in a few scenes, Kit's in a few scenes, Bruce Mackey. So that is one of my favorite things is looking in the background and being like, oh, wait, that's that character. But now she's playing this character. I think that is so fun. The second episode that you appear in is, of course, the most iconic one, Irene Moves In, which is about a young Asian girl who moves onto Degrassi Street and she faces pushback from Ida Lucas. I want to know, I imagine at the time there wasn't a lot of Asian representation. What did Asian representation look like for you when you were growing up?
In Canadian shows, I don't remember it very much at all.
Yeah.
I mean, and I remember watching Chinese movies, like in Cantonese, but I don't remember, you know what I mean? I don't remember actual Asian characters.
Yeah.
Not back then, not much. I'm sure there must have been, but I don't remember them very much. It was all like Charlie's Angels and The Love Boat, right?
Yeah.
And Three's Company. There was there were no Asian characters.
Yeah. How does it feel for you knowing that like there was definitely some kids who tuned into the Kids of Degrassi Street and thought, oh my gosh, like I've never seen me on TV. What does it feel like for you to know you were definitely the Asian representation for some kids in Canada?
Until you said it now, I actually never even thought of that. Like, honestly, I never even thought of it that way, as representing anything more than just this kid on TV. And I thought it was fun. At any age, I think like being on TV is just fun, right?
I love that.
Yeah. And I didn't know. I honestly, Jocelyn, I've never even thought that I was the Asian representation of anything.
Yeah, on Canadian TV. Well, what's funny is I actually interviewed someone else from Degrassi. Her name's Colleen Lamb, funny enough. Yeah. And she was the first female Asian character on Degrassi Junior High. And when I had her on the show, we had that discussion about Asian representation. She said that it felt amazing to be someone who could represent that on TV because she never got to see it herself. But what's so funny is she was like, Jocelyn, you'll know this, like, am I the first Asian character on Degrassi? And I was like, no, you got beat out by Nancy Lamb. And I told her about the Irene Moves In episode. So when I announced that you were coming on the podcast, she was like, I've been waiting for this one. I'm going to tune in. So she was excited to listen to the person who beat her out.
No, I actually never even thought of it in those terms.
Yeah.
I know there is like a lot of chatter now about how you got to represent all the groups, and I get it, and it's great, right? I think it's terrific, but I don't know if I was just not that aware as a kid, or but it wasn't like you did your thing, right?
Yeah.
Like you did your thing, and it didn't matter if you were black, white, yellow, or what, right? We were just all kids, and I guess maybe that's lucky, but I didn't feel that there was anything lost or gained. You know what I mean? By via race. Yeah. At least back in the area that I grew up in, it wasn't like a fancy one, obviously. It was like Blake, right? It was like Blake Street, that area. And it wasn't, so while it's great that there is so much representation, and there is like Asian Heritage Month, and there's Black History Month and all that, I don't know if kids know it. Like, kids live their life not knowing anything different. And it's just like, okay, this is it.
Yeah, they don't see those differences. Yeah, that's interesting, because I feel like in like the early 2000s, maybe even now, but in the early 2000s, it was very much tokenized. Like, okay, we had, Degrassi had the plus size character, Degrassi had the character, but on the Kids of Degrassi Street, it really did just seem like these are just a bunch of kids in a neighborhood. Like, it's not this person's representing this, or just kids.
Yeah, it was just more organic. And I think that's one of the good things about the show. It was just organic. It wasn't like we've got to fill X, Y, and Z role to fill our, minority quota sort of thing, right? It's like, well, who does this? Like, who does this well? What do we want to see, right? And it was so organic and natural. And I really do think that's one of the appeals of the show.
Oh, I totally agree. One of the things that made me love it is that I got to watch someone who looked just like me, who was the same age as I was, tell a story about coming out of the closet. And that's the reason why I'm so dedicated to the show, is because it made me feel like I was watching myself on screen. And that's that relationship from hiring just real kids like you.
Yeah. And it's okay. Right? Like it made it all okay.
Yeah.
Right?
And same with that. It wasn't like, okay, this is our gay episode. It was like a whole like series long thing. We stick with them. They have other things going on besides just being a gay kid. They lived a whole full life, and they were fully realized characters, which is what real kids are, right?
Right. And that's so important, whether it's in art and like in any type of art, whether it be writing or television shows, you want to see the full dimension of it. And it's so much more tangible and relatable. It's not like the superstar thing, right? It's not perfect, whatever. It's just real.
One thing I also wanted to clear up, because one of my first questions I was going to ask you is about a very common Degrassi fact, that your mom was in the Kids of Degrassi Street, but that is not your mom. How do you think this rumor came to be that was your mom?
Okay, maybe we should get into the stereotypes of Asians, right? Well, they're both Asians and they got the same last name, so they must be related.
I think that must be what happened. That must be.
Well, it's true. I don't know I saw it on IMDb and I go, that's not my mom. What are you talking about? Right?
That's like one of the like top facts about the Kids of Degrassi Street. And I was just like, okay, well, that must be true. And no, it's not at all. That's so interesting.
Where have you seen it? Like you say it's a top fact of Degrassi, so you must have.
Yeah, I've seen it on like the kind of spaces where you can edit facts. So like there's a Degrassi wiki page. I've seen it on the IMDb page. I've seen it around enough that I was just like, okay. And there's also other, I know like Sarah Charlesworth, like her mom appeared on the show. So I wonder if people just kind of thought, like you said, same last name, they look alike, they must be a mother and daughter. It's so interesting. I was shocked when you told me. I was like, I thought I knew a Degrassi fact that is not real. Like, that was so cool. I was like, oh, I just learned something.
Well, now you'll be the person known to correct it.
Yes, exactly. Now I have to go back on all my social media and restate.
Yes. And while you're at it, can you get me an actual credit on Google? Because you know how they have the Kids of Degrassi Street in the cast, or the Degrassi cast?
Yeah.
So they had Nancy Lamb, but they gave my credit to this Malaysian cook. Dude, no offense to the Malaysian cook or the whatever, right? But that's not me. That's and you do not play on Degrassi.
Oh my God. Do you guys have the same name? Is that what happened?
It's exactly the same. It's Nancy Lamb, right?
Oh,
and I'm like, she's really funny. She's like this crazy Asian cook, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, don't take my one credit from me from TV.
That's all I have.
You write to Google for me and tell them.
I'll message Google.
Okay.
I'll message Google. It would be the same if she cooked all these brilliant dishes and everybody was like, congratulations, you did so good.
She's got to be at least 20 years my senior. It's like, dude, this is here.
Oh my God, that is so funny. I love that. In an episode called Lisa Makes the Headlines, Irene works with all of her friends to get Ida a birthday present, and she gives her a Property of Ida Lucas sweatshirt. And I know when I watch the show, I'm like, oh my God, I need that in my Degrassi collection. So I want to know, do you still have anything from your time on Degrassi? Did you keep anything?
No, they needed all the props, and I was a big rule follower. So if they said, don't take anything or don't touch anything, I didn't touch a thing. The only thing I have are my scripts, which I actually still have.
That is cool.
Yeah, and the contracts that I signed.
Oh my God.
Or my parents signed. Yeah, so I have the scripts, and I think I got everyone to sign them, sort of like a yearbook thing.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Because you know what? To me, it was a very, I was very proud of it. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to keep that. Are
they accessible enough that you could ever send us a picture of your signed script?
Oh, sure.
Oh my God. That would be amazing. That would be like, Degrassi fans would lose their mind if we got to see that. I've never seen a Kids of Degrassi Street script before. I've seen the Degrassi High ones, but I've never seen like one of those. That's cool. Even just the front of it would be amazing.
Yeah, I'll totally, I'll get them for you.
One of the last episodes that you appeared in is called Billy Breaks the Chain, where Ida and Irene have this cute scene. They're like doing tarot cards together. They're talking about Mercury being in retrograde. But what I wanted to ask you is, it's kind of the episode where the older characters pass on the torch to the younger characters. Yeah. The show kind of transitions.
Definitely.
Were you hoping that you could carry on? Like, why did Irene leave? Were you ready to move on? Were they ready to move on? What happened there?
You better ask Linda. We were kind of. I think they were focusing on the younger generation there, and they were great. Like Stacey Mistison. Yeah, she was great, and I remember them coming on, and I was watching them film a scene because we weren't on yet, and I thought, oh wow, she's really good.
Yeah,
like I just knew they had found their place. I could see why they wanted to focus on the younger kids.
And it's kind of cool that they got to kind of experiment with you guys and find the footing of what the show looked like, right?
Yeah.
Because you guys really set the building blocks, and then the new kids could come in and just kind of run with it.
Yeah. No, I could see how much more mature their acting actually was. I cringed when I saw myself. Like even back then, I watched it. I went, "Oh, that's awful!" Right?
Oh my God! I thought you did so good. I thought you were so cute and just sincere. I loved it.
There is one thing I do remember, which is funny, and it was from the Irene Moves In. And there's that one scene where Ida and I are fighting in the school library.
Yes.
She knocks paint. Like I fell down, and the paint falls all over my sweater.
Yep.
And I get up and I scream and I yell at her. It's like, I'm going to sue. And now many years later, I become a lawyer. Right?
Oh my God.
Foreshadowing into reality, right? It's like, oh,
Yes,
okay.
exactly.
Maybe not acting. Maybe we'll do this in the day.
From a lawyer. Oh, I love that. Okay, I have some fan questions that came in that I'd like to ask you.
Shoot, go for it.
One of them comes from Dave, who wants to know, how did it feel to balance Degrassi with your real life? Because you kind of had an interesting time where Degrassi was only coming out like once a year. You were only filming a little bit at a time. But what did that look like in your life? How was filming?
That's a good question. And if you read my book, you'll see that my mother was not happy, because back in the day, there were no rules and there was no law about what needed to be done for kids in film.
Mm-hmm.
So but filming was actually quite efficient. We filmed, I think, the whole episode in like a week.
Oh my God.
Yeah, like everything. So, but I was off school for a full week.
Mm.
It was like grade, whatever it was, like grade 4, grade 5, whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm doing okay in school. What of it?
It's not going to ruin your life. You can still become a lawyer.
Yeah. But then, but the litany of lectures I received from my mother after that was like, are you freaking crazy? No more. You tell. Because my mom didn't speak English. It was just another reason why she was not on the show.
Yeah.
Right? But she didn't speak English. And so anything she wanted me to tell Linda, I had to communicate for her.
Yeah.
She goes, you tell them no more missing school. So I was like, right? My mom says I can't miss school anymore. So can we just like shoot this later?
Oh my gosh.
Linda came back trying to manage the problem. She goes, well, listen, I was a school teacher, so I can tutor you if you need. Right? And I thought, okay, I'll tell my mom.
Oh my gosh.
I'm carrier pigeon, right, for these messages from
you're in the
mom. Communicate with them.
Yeah.
So she was so to answer Dave's question, it wasn't hard to balance. Like missing a week of school was no big deal, especially grade 5, as we now see in retrospect. At the time, it seemed like a monstrosity, according to my folks. Right? It's like, what are you doing? Why are you missing school?
Throwing your future away.
Yes, right. Yeah, right. How are you going to do something that makes money? Right? But it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah. Oh my God, that is so cool. I love now knowing that it wasn't your mom and the dynamic of her being like, this is like interfering. I think that's so funny that a rumor got started that your mom was on the show.
I don't know. Yeah, if you read my book, right, you'll know she was just very much, you are not going to be an actress. You are going to get a job, preferably something to do with math or medicine or science, right? Never mind that I sucked at all those.
Oh, I love that so much. So then how did it come about? If your parents thought it might be in the way, how did it come about that you were going to be on it? Or were they didn't realize it at that point?
Well, they didn't know. It wasn't them that found it for sure. What happened was Linda must have approached our school. They go, we need a kid to do blank. And so it was our Mrs. Burns, our grade 4 teacher. And she said, okay, you guys in the top reading group, right? So we could read, because presumably you have to read to be able to do this. Right?
Fair assessment. Yeah.
You in the top reading group, all the girls go apply for this role. So we all went as a group.
I had no idea. And then they picked you.
Yeah. And then out of all of us, we went. I remember going, and one of my friends in that group, her name was actually Irene. So we thought, oh, she's got a head start because her name actually is Irene. Right?
That's so cute. Like, she's got it.
Yeah, right. Like she's just got a leg up on it. But I also knew that I could read, right?
That's the important part.
So it's about the ability to read, right? Yeah. So that day that I went for the audition with everybody, I was walking along and I found a dime, like on the street. And I thought, oh, this is good luck. But since that day, and this is back in grade 4, every time, and this has happened multiple times since then, that's like 40 years, every time I find a dime, something good happens.
Oh my God.
And it's always dimes.
That's so crazy.
It's not anything else. It's always dimes.
Always a dime.
Yeah.
Oh, you must feel good. So good. Anytime you see one, you must be like, I gotta go buy a lottery ticket. Like,
Or something good's gonna happen. That's the thing.
I love that. That is so cool. Thank you so much for teaching me all these like cool behind the scenes things. It brings me so much joy to just keep learning and learning about the show. Like, I had no idea. So then what? Then did you have to go tell your mom, like, hey mom, I'm gonna be on a TV show?
Well, I said I'm gonna go audition. She's like, whatever. Right? She go with us, right? Kids used to wander around. It was just a big pack of us. There's like six of us, maybe. So, yeah. And we all walked over to Queen Street because, we were all, but nobody had a ton of cash, right? So it's like, oh, we'll take the bus fare, we'll all walk, right? And we all went together and we just tried out. And then when I got the role, I was excited. I was like so happy. But I got the contract. My parents don't read. So,
oh my God.
So I'm saying, you just have to sign here. You just have to sign here. but
oh my God. It paid that you could read. It paid that you could read.
Well, but the thing is, my uncle, like my uncle could read English. He goes, wait a second, you can't tell him to sign there. What does this thing say? But he was in high school only. So for him to read a contract and understand it, it was very,
yeah.
He didn't know, right? So he goes, all right. So eventually they signed there. And then when my mom found out about the missing school, she goes, it's a bad deal. No good, no good.
Oh my God, that is incredible. That has to be one of the most interesting stories about how you got onto onto Degrassi. That is so cool. Everyone else, like their parents took them or like whatever, but you're like,
yeah, no. And my parents never actually met Linda and Kit.
Oh, really?
Never. Every time I went, they worried sometimes that they would send my older brother with me. They go walk her over there. And then he didn't want to, right? Because he didn't want to feel like he was intruding and stuff on the set. But, he's very artsy and he helped a bit. But yeah, it was weird because my parents would always say, just go with her, right?
Yeah.
But so so my parents never even met Linda and Kit.
Oh my God. And the whole world thinks your mom was on the show.
I know, bizarre.
So funny.
Bizarre.
Our next fan question comes from Degrassi CSI, who's a huge Degrassi fan. They love the old classic Degrassi, like that's their whole thing. And they want to know some insight about what it was like to grow up in Toronto in the early 80s. Did the kids of Degrassi Street really capture what it was like to be a kid at that time?
I think so. Kids did actually come outside and play instead of playing on their devices. Right? And people just hung out and did things. I don't know how creative everybody was. I can only speak for like my own neighborhood, and I can actually live on Degrassi. Yeah. But yeah, I could see kids, mucking about, playing out, just trying to figure out what to do during the day. When they didn't have so much homework or whatever it is, or organized sports or organized everything, right? It was just sort of like go out, come back later. So yeah, I would say it's a very fair depiction of what was happening around Toronto. Yeah, for sure. A nicer time, a simpler time.
Yes, it seems like it. I know that's one thing I wish I could experience watching these Degrassi episodes for the first time, like as they came out, because it's cool to do the research. I know so much about it, but I don't know what it was really like to sit at home with your 3 channels and watch the kids of Degrassi Street. Like, I don't know what that's like. I want to see that.
Yeah.
One thing is that a lot of kids your age were growing up watching shows like Degrassi Junior High and Degrassi High. Did you ever watch that series?
No, I was I didn't watch a ton of TV back then. When did those 2 shows come out?
Degrassi Junior High started in 1987, and then it went right on through to Degrassi High, which ended in 1992.
Yeah, so I was closer to the end of high school back then.
Oh, interesting.
Or I was in high school. So high school, as you know, high school has its own sort of kettle of fish here, right? So there's a lot of different stuff going on already, and I was in a lot of after school stuff, like sports and stuff.
Oh, that is so cool.
Or just whatever I was into. I wouldn't say all the time, but yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know what I was doing in high school. Now that I think of it. But no, I don't remember watching a ton of TV. Mm-hmm. And so no, unfortunately I didn't. But I did hear about how well it was doing.
Yeah. Oh, so, yeah. I believe it. Susan wants to know, were you ever asked to come back for Degrassi Junior High, or were you ever interested in coming back to Degrassi?
I would have loved to had I been asked, but I think I was too old for that then. You know what I mean? Yeah. And actually, in grade 13, we still had grade 13 then. Linda and Kit came to our school for a writing course.
That is so cool.
Yeah, as like guest speakers or something, where they would connect students who were interested in writing with actual writers in BC. And they would comment on your work, which is amazing. I think he eventually started a university program at York for that, because it was such a novel and new idea. It was sort of when the internet thing was not as common as it is now, right?
Yeah, you couldn't connect as easily with people.
Yeah, exactly. But it was still happening. And we had a modem. It was like dial-up modem, and you'd like but I'm almost sure Kit and Linda were at our school one time in this class, and I went up and said, hey, I introduced myself again. And they were like, whoa, you're like, wow, you guys are older now, right? Or whatever. It's a shock to see someone after so many years and you haven't seen them, right?
Oh, yeah. Especially because the jump from like 9-year-old to like a 17-year-old or whatever, like that's a pretty big jump in your life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. So it was bizarre. But I'm sorry, now I've gotten off track. What was the question again?
Or if you ever wanted to come back to Degrassi Junior High, or if you ever approached by Linda and Kit to come back to Degrassi.
Yeah, so definitely not. I was not approached, but I would have loved to. It would have been fun.
Yeah. Oh, that would have been the fans would have loved it. It's always so cool to see those little Easter eggs of like what you can watch in the background or who's there and that kind of stuff. That is so cool.
Maybe in the new series.
We'll make it happen. I will make it happen.
Come back to the moms.
Riley wants to know, if you had have continued on and acting on Degrassi, are there any storylines you would have liked to see tackled on the series, or ones that like you think would have been fun to play around with?
You know what I think would be interesting? The switch between elementary school and junior high, because I remember having that sort of issue. It's because I went to this one elementary school and all the kids were going to another junior. They were going to go to Earl Grey, where Linda used to teach.
Yeah. Oh my God.
But I lived sort of right in the middle and closer to the other end. So I was going to another one, but all by myself.
Yeah.
You struggle sometimes to say, well, which one's the right choice for me?
Yeah.
Right? Because do I go where all my friends are going, or do I go where my family's gone? Like, do I have an allegiance to either of them? Right? Do I go somewhere else? Right?
Yes, exactly. It's kind of like even though everyone's a new kid, like you're the new kid.
Yeah.
I had the same thing happen. There was me and one other girl transferred to the school, and everyone else went to the other school. And now we're lifelong friends. Like I was in her wedding, like we've stayed together forever. But at the time we were like, oh, we only have each other. So like, let's go through junior high together.
Yeah. But that's how I felt.
Yeah. That would be an interesting transition, because the Kids of Degrassi Street isn't in the same universe as Degrassi Junior High, which some fans don't know that. They're different. So they didn't capture what is that like to go to a new school where some people, but everybody's really new and everybody's also 12 and terrified.
Right? And like nothing. Or even the transition from junior high to high school, like both times, right? It's like, where do I go? Or again, the transition from, if you really want to get into it, right, from high school to university, which is what a lot of people are doing. Like, it's always those transition points, which I think are most, they wreck your brain, right? Your brain's like doing mental gymnastics, almost going pros and cons and blah, 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 right?
Yeah. And you have your routines and you like have your safety nets, and then every 3 years in your kid's life.
Yeah, it blows up.
Upheaved and it blows up. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be interesting.
Yeah, so that's my answer to that question.
That's a good answer, especially so off the cuff. I love that. And our last fan question comes from Georgia, who wants to know, what do you think about the fact that this little tiny TV show you were on when you were a kid is now blown up into this huge worldwide franchise? What is that like for you?
It's quite a trip. And I don't like to talk about it. It's like it's not like I'm in court and I mention, oh, by the way, right? Yeah. It's not really appropriate. But it's kind of a fun fact, right? To sort of like to drop in. And actually, when I posted that photo, when I finally got Instagram, right? Many of my friends were commenting, going, oh my God, why did I not know this?
Oh my God, you just don't tell people. That's crazy.
I don't talk about it unless it sort of comes up. It's sort of related, or unless like my husband knows, right? I kind of thought I should mention it to him maybe at some point.
Like, I'm a celebrity, by the way, just so you know. Like, get recognized on our dates.
Oh yeah, right.
Well, Degrassi Degrassi's huge. I mean, in Toronto, there's an exhibit from, what is it called? From Mr. Dress Up to Degrassi, 42 years of television. Yeah. And they have like a Degrassi Street sign. I've only seen pictures of it because I live in Prince Edward Island, but like, I'm like, I got to go to Toronto because I want to go see it. Like they have the show playing. They have the Degrassi Street sign, a whole like write up about the show. Like it's going to live forever. And even if it doesn't come back, it's going to live forever, I think.
Nice. Well, I'll switch you. I'd love to visit PEI because I love potatoes.
I love that you know that we're known for that.
Canadian. I'm so Canadian. You don't know.
I love it. I appreciate it. We'll get you to meet Anne of Green Gables. It'll be great.
Awesome.
I think it's funny that you're so, like, I know that I'm a fan of the show, but I was an extra on one episode of Degrassi, and it's my entire personality. I have told everybody on the planet, I'm like, oh yeah, do you want to know a fun fact about me? I was an extra on Degrassi. I tell everybody in the world. It's like I was the star of the show. You can like can't even really see me. I was just there. The camera goes by me so quick, I'm like a blur. But to me, I'm like, no, I'm a star.
Well,
and no one even knows you were on it.
No. Well, I mean, I tell some people once in a while, but not often. Yeah. So yeah.
That is so funny.
Well, you can see when I posted it on Instagram, I was like, how did I not know this? What?
I am so excited to go back and look at it. That is so funny. Overall, what does it mean to you that you were a part of Degrassi?
The words that come to mind: proud, happy, and I don't think anything else, I don't think any other experience could ever replace that.
Aww.
Like it made me, at a time when I guess all kids are struggling, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know why I'm getting emotional.
No, this is huge. Like, this is a big thing.
It made me feel special to be on it because, I was picked and, I needed that. Like, everybody needs it at some point.
Yeah.
And so it was cool.
Yeah. What a validating experience. I mean, there was like you and like three other kids on that show. You went with your group of friends. They picked you. Like, that's an incredible feeling. Wow.
So I'm happy I did. And obviously now it's coming sort of full circle and this is kind of cool, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've done other stuff, but this is cool. Right?
That's the coolest credit. Well, one thing I wanted to ask you about is because, Irene Moves In is all about Irene and her mom moving into Degrassi Street. They're exploring an unfamiliar place with unfamiliar challenges. And I know that your mom faced a similar story. I think you talk about it in your book of her experience of coming to Canada in a new unfamiliar place with new unfamiliar challenges. Can you kind of give us insight into what her experience was like of coming to Canada and facing this new world?
Yeah. So The Loyal Daughter, that's the name of the book. So the cover's up for an award in the Manitoba Book Awards, and the writing is up for an award. It's an international indie book award, and I'm the only Canadian finalist, I understand.
That is incredible. Congratulations. Oh my God. I hope you win it.
Psyched. Yeah. So those are the Chinese colors, the red and the gold, right? So, but to get to your question, it's similar to, I guess, what Irene and her mom were facing moving to a new neighborhood, but magnified.
Yeah.
Because mom is coming from a different country with no family here. And she ended up in, of all places, North Bay, Ontario.
How do you even know where that is?
I know.
Ontario.
And what were we doing there, right? Top of that, you will read, it was an arranged marriage. She had never met her husband.
What?
My dad. Yeah, it was one of the things. It wasn't as common then because they were coming out of that sort of culture where all marriages were arranged.
Yeah.
But it was done. It was still sort of like a 50-50 thing. I don't know the actual stats, but I'm saying like a 50. Some people met on their own. Some people had arranged marriages. So she said, all right.
And she just goes and starts a whole new life with a whole new person.
With no family, like no one.
No resources, just there in North Bay, Ontario.
In North Bay. So my dad's family, though, had a restaurant in North Bay, which is why they were there. There's always a Chinese restaurant wherever the train stopped, right? So, so they had a Chinese. So that's why my dad and his family, my dad was there. But so then my mom came and joined him, but she was on her own.
Wow. Oh my God.
Yeah. Imagine that, eh? You go to a different country. You don't speak the language. You have no family. You don't know the culture. And you're just starting from ground zero.
I wouldn't know what to do. Like I would be too overwhelmed to even try to figure out what step one is in that situation.
Right. And you're with a literal stranger who you were about to marry within days of arriving.
I can't wait to read this book. That's nuts. I know. I literally cannot imagine that. And then she comes here and she starts a whole family.
She not only, okay, this is why I think my mom is so kick-ass, right? Because she came here without anyone. She was so young, 4 kids, 3 of us are lawyers. And she, you know, they bought a house, they fed us, they gave us everything that they didn't have when they were younger, right? And always, and it's just like, so it's like, that's why I always think, if they can do that, if my parents can come to a country and do this with nothing, I should be capable of doing absolutely anything, right?
Oh, that is so touching and beautiful. And now you're a writer and a lawyer and you've made this huge life for yourself. Like, that's incredible.
Thank you.
Did your mom give you any type of like guidance or leadership? You know, she's gone through this whole huge life-changing thing. How does she then pass that down to you? Does she give you any advice? Does she teach you how to like tackle the world? Or
no, mom was so okay. So you've heard of the whole tiger mom thing?
I don't think I have.
Like people, oh, you've never heard of that? Okay, so there's this
I'm excited to learn.
Asian tiger mom, lawyer and professor in the States, wrote a book. I forget her name right now. She wrote a book and it's called Tiger Mom.
Yeah.
It's about the Asian mom who wants her kid to do everything. She's going to take piano lessons, going to do school, you're going to do all this extra stuff. And they're on them, right? They're like driving them like crazy, right? But my mom was the opposite. She's like, do whatever you want. But she would comment all the time. And she didn't do it sort of like physically. She didn't say you have to do lessons. We never had lessons. We never had money for lessons, right? Or anything. You got food, you got a house, be happy, right?
Yeah.
She did criticize. She was master of criticism, and not in a mean way, but just in a matter of fact, like, oh, it's too bad you kids are so stupid. Nobody knows how to do math. Right?
You missed that 1 week of school. Your whole life is over.
She would say things like that. You can't be an actor. All actors get divorced. And all the time, you can't do that. It's so unstable. You might starve. Forget it. Right? It's just not practical. Yeah, I'd come home and do well in paper. It's like, well, yeah, you only have 4 courses. Do you know how many courses I had to take to do well? You shouldn't pat yourself, and you still can't do math. So you can't be that smart. You better get a job, right? Like, that was her way. There was never like, oh, you did a good job. Oh, that's great. Yeah. Oh, I'm so proud. It was none of that. It was like, oh, you're lucky you're not an idiot, right? Compliment. Yeah. My sister actually, she's older. My sister actually told my mom, I think in high school, that she wanted to be a lawyer. Yeah. Most parents, most normal humans would say, that's great, go for it. Yeah. My mom's response was, you want to be a lawyer? You'd be lucky to be a secretary in a lawyer's office.
And now 3 of you are lawyers? Oh my God.
Which she was not proud of, though. She was like, 3 lawyers. I have this one in the book. She goes, 3 lawyers equals 1 doctor. Where is my doctor? Oh. Yeah. She was not impressed. And then when she found out that a legal license is only good for the province, she went bat crap crazy. She goes, you are kidding me. All this schooling, and you can't even go outside of the province? Never mind another country to join?
Oh my God.
There's a broken leg in any country. Why are you not a doctor?
Broken leg is a broken leg in any country. I love that. That is so funny. To be fair, it's in like the biggest Canadian province ever. So I feel like that's helpful, right? Like if you got it here, not really gonna be that great for you.
I know.
Earlier you brought up your mom, and this one thing I wanted to do is kind of tie this question into the book, because Linda talks about the feeling of living between 2 worlds. She tells us stories about her students they go to school, they celebrate Canadian customs, they speak English, and then they go home and they speak a different language with their family and they celebrate different customs. I want to know, what was that feeling like for you, of that dual experience of living between 2 worlds?
Again, because it's all I knew, just the way I operated, right? At home, we do this, at school we do this, right? Yeah. So I never felt it like a burden. However, there were times when it's like, oh, we can't do that outside the house. Like, I know that that's not kosher, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's true, even if you're even if you speak English at home and outside of the house, even if, you know, you're Caucasian everywhere, there's still rules at home and things you do at home that you wouldn't do outside of the house. So I think
You're totally right.
Transpires all of that. Like everybody could relate to that. And
Yeah.
I didn't mind it. I actually liked it. It was almost like when you come at home is like your secret language, right?
Yeah.
And outside of the house, it's like how you behave with everybody else so they get you, right? So they understand
Yeah.
you sort of fit in. I mean, I would be able to say, to greet my siblings, often I pass my siblings in the hallway, right? And I do a nod, right? Like acknowledgement. But my friends would say, aren't you going to even say hello to your brother or your sister or whoever, right? I was like, I did.
Yeah, I did. I very clearly communicated my hello. That is so funny. Yeah, that is so interesting. I never thought about that. There's definitely things that I do in my household. And you never. Or like at another friend's house, I would never do it.
Yeah, right. But at home, you got your mode of operation. It's all good.
Yeah, you got your space.
Yeah.
One thing that is also crazy about you is on top of being a writer and writing a book, you're also an immigration lawyer, which is so freaking cool. Can you give us insight into what kind of work do you do and how does it connect to your own personal experiences?
Oh, well, I actually do love my work.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel fortunate to have found it, or it found me, or whatever, whichever way you want to go.
Yeah.
And again, it wasn't so much conscious as it was maybe just organic, and because of everything I'd grown up with.
Mm-hmm.
My parents obviously were immigrants, and I think all of us to some degree were immigrants to this country.
Yeah.
And I know the struggles that my parents had getting in, and to be able to help other families and people come to this country to not only to help the country, and also the family gets help, you know what I mean? They get the opportunities, right? Yeah. It's a very what's the phrase? Like both parties benefit.
Yeah.
Right. It's a codependent relationship, and I love it. I love Canada. I studied Canadian history in university. That was my undergrad before going to law school. Yeah. And so I truly believe in our country, and I believe the reason that it's so strong, and it can be even stronger, is because of the diversity and the people that come in and bring their culture, but also adopt to what we have here. And it's that mixture, that diversity that makes the country so strong. And I feel for the people, because the first few clients I had, I thought, oh, I can imagine my parents struggling through the same thing. For me, it's very rewarding to be able to help them not assimilate so much, but just to, get used to this and to get over their big hurdles so that they can go on and do whatever things that they need to do, or whatever they can provide to their family and to the country.
That is amazing. So now you get to kind of play a support role when your mom maybe didn't have that support role. You get to step in and be that person for them.
Yeah. And I didn't know. I actually, before I started the immigration work, I used to practice civil litigation.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I loved court work. I love going to court, but I hated it. I hated parts of it, like so much so that I thought, I don't want to practice the law anymore. But because I didn't find it rewarding. I mean, I worked for a quasi-governmental organization, right? And it's like, great, I finished one case, they'll just pile the next one on. No one's ever really happy, right? And it was the epitome of what people think of lawyers, right? Like, lawyers suck, they're bloodsuckers, yada 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 yada. Right? Yeah. But I like the immigration work because it actually contributes something positive to people's lives and to Canada, and that's why I really truly do enjoy my work. And it's through doing my work, because what I do is I take the stories, or I take the facts from the clients, create it, and tell their story to the government, whether it be through written form or verbally in court, right? Yeah. And doing that for so many years, after a while, I thought, shoot, I want to tell mom's story. I want to tell mom and dad's story, because I appreciate what they did. And sadly, I didn't actually get to it until mom died. So it took a long time for me to write her story, but I'm glad I didn't.
But now it lives forever. Like now it's out there forever in your own little book. Like that's incredible.
Yeah, I'm hoping so.
Plus, she would be like, "What? It's a book."
Well, that's it. I don't know if she'd be happy or she'd cry. She's going, show me something that's better. Right? Like, show me why this is good. Why did you tell all this to everybody? I don't want that out there, right?
No, that is incredible. It's so interesting to see how much of your childhood is reflected. Like you were a person, but for your mom and everybody else that she was connecting to, and now you're doing the same thing as an immigration lawyer, and you're doing that thing with saying, okay, this is what they need. This is what they need to tell you, and this is what they need from you. Like, that's incredible. It feels like you were just born to do that.
Yeah. And that's, I'm so glad that you said it because that's how I feel. Yeah. I do feel like I found my place.
Yeah.
And in the writing as well, I like when you know you're doing what you're meant to do, it's natural and it's organic and it doesn't feel as much like work.
Yeah. Oh, I love that for you. This is like one of my most rewarding interviews ever. Like I'm learning so much about the show. I'm learning so much about your personal life and like all these things that you've created. It is so cool. But one of the last questions I have for you is I know that Irene Moves In is really a story about a new kid moving on to Degrassi Street, but I really think that you could look at Irene Moves In as an immigration story made accessible for kids. And I want to know, how do you feel about the fact that 40 years ago, Degrassi put that story on television?
Well, it was so forward thinking, right? They sort of did the let's highlight the ethnic diversity of our country before it was cool to do it or before it was mandated to do it, right?
Yeah.
So it's very forward thinking. It's great. And that's why I think Linda and Kit, were so creative and just had a great deal of foresight.
Aww. One of my favorite facts that I learned about you is that your kids have grown up to be actors. Can you tell us about this show that they're on?
Just one.
Your kid.
My youngest. Okay, so sort of. It's on CBC Gem. It's in its third season coming up. Multiple awards. It's an LGBTQ show. Bilal Baig and Fab Filippo wrote it. Bilal also stars in it. Fab directs.
Wow.
Yeah, and so Bilal is the main character, Sabi, and Sabi has 3 lives in the first episode, right? Their own life, like with their family, their Pakistani family, and they are also a bartender at like a club that's open to all, genders, sort of thing. Yeah. And then they are also a nanny, very, very conservative family, right? Yeah. And so the show is done wonderfully. It's won critical acclaim like everywhere. And
oh my God,
gone international. It's on Sky. It's in the Baltic countries. It's in France. It's just everywhere. And so hopefully people will tune in. I'm shocked because it's CBC that people on the East and West Coast are not hearing more about it.
Yes, that's what I was telling you earlier. Like my 2 brands are that I love a Canadian TV show and I'm gay, and I haven't heard about this sort of show. That seems like something I absolutely would want to watch. What do you think? Like, why should people watch it? What are they going to get out of it if they will tune into the series?
Oh, so much. I think it's about acceptance, and despite the differences that we might have, whether it be gender preference or cultural right? It's we're all human.
Yeah.
We connect and can relate so much more than one might think at first blush. And we should all give each other that sort of opportunity to accept and to learn about each other's, whether it be culture or race or gender or blah, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like we're just everyone's got the same goals, right? Everyone wants to be happy. And
that is literally the plot of Irene Moves In. So it's the same message. It's still happening and we still need to learn it. So I love that they're doing it in this new creative way. I'm so excited to tune into it. And what role does your little one play?
Aiden, not so little anymore. But Aiden is the character of Henry Kaneko Bauer. He is the younger of the 2 children that Sabi nannies.
Oh, that is so cool. How do you feel about the fact that your kid is an actor? Are you like, you better go to school?
Yeah, I do. And it's always, but the rules are different now. Like there was actually a law, right? They get 2 hours of tutoring time on, like, if they're there for, I think 5, I don't know exactly the rules, but there's mandatory schooling time on set. It's great. And I do encourage him though. I do tell him though, no, you can't quit school and just go be an actor.
Yeah.
You have to finish school, but you can do this on the side if you try and if you want to, right? And I put it all on him because he's old enough, right? It's like, you go figure out what roles you want, you do your extra classes if you want, whatever. So he loves it, obviously. The cast is great. The crew's been amazing. Fab and Bilal are wonderful. Sienna Films, they produced it, and it's just like a big family.
Oh.
And everyone's so supportive. I'm so happy that with all the TV experience I've been exposed to, that every time the productions have been so warm.
Yeah.
And everyone treats you well. So yeah, tune in, CBC Gem. Go for it.
I'm excited. I am going to watch this, and I will promote the heck out of it. I promise you. Like, that is so cool. I am excited. It's also so amazing to learn about you and how much of the things that like popped up in your childhood, like manifested into things into adulthood. Like, that is so crazy. Like, I feel like this is just the path you were intended to take. You're meant to be an immigration lawyer, meant to be a writer. You're meant to have these kids who grows up on Canadian TV. Like, that is so cool.
Well, one of the reasons I actually did support Aiden's sort of entry into the TV world was because I remember, like I said, I wasn't kidding when I said it made me feel like it gave me a confidence, right?
Yeah.
I was scared that he wouldn't have for various reasons. So I thought, no, embrace your differences because you can do anything, right? And that's what I wanted to give him. And this has given it to him. He felt special on the show, right? And I, like, if nothing else, if this is the end of his TV career, hopefully not, but it's done its job for him.
Yeah.
Right? He knows that he's got something, right? He can do stuff.
Oh my gosh, you're such a good mom. I love that so much.
I don't know. If you ask him, you might think I'm a crappy mom.
I'll get him on the podcast next and we'll dish about it. It'll be great. Before we say goodbye to Degrassi's Nancy Lamb, I want to say thank you to all of you who support the Degrassi Kid Patreon. First, I want to say thank you to my Discord moderators, Emily, Lily, Nicholas, and Colin, who make the online world a better place. And a big thank you to Adriana, Amarie, Alyssa, Annie, Amari, Amber, Amethyst, Becca's123, Brittany, Chrissy, Dave, Degrassi CSI, Ethan, Emily, Gina, Glenn, Hannah, Holly, Isabel, Jenny, Jem, Joss, Jess, Jolene, Josie Vins, Julia, Julianne, Catherine, Kat, Courtney, Kier, Crystal, Kylia, Lauren, Lizzie Games, Max, Mark, Megan, Molly, Owen, Rachel, Racine, Randy, Riley, Ruby, Shane, Sierra, Sarah J, Shelby, Stephanie, Sunita, Susan, Trevor, and my real-life best friend, Stevie Jerwa. Your continued support has made such a huge impact in the way we celebrate Degrassi online, and I am so thankful for it. And a shout out to Tish and Christina from the TV Deep Dive podcast, Rebecca from the Trail Mix podcast, and Pat from the Melting Pat podcast, who all make this community such a fun and active space online. You guys have made all of these guests, events, giveaways, and movie nights possible, and I can't thank you enough. But for now, let's check back in with Nancy Lamb and say our goodbyes. Thanks, guys. Well, one of the last things I want to get you to do is tell us, where can we find you online? Where can we find your book? Give us an update on how we can keep in touch with Nancy Lamb.
So Nancy Lamb Books is my handle. I don't know, what do you call it?
You got it. Handle, yep.
Is my handle on Twitter and on Instagram and on Facebook as well. Oh. I have a website, nancylambooks.com. And if you need legal work, NL Immigration Law, okay? I'm happy to help.
I love that. And I will link all of that in the description, and I will link the CBC Gem show. I will put that on, I'll put that all up on there for you. No problem.
They will love it. Yeah, they're still filming season 3 right now.
Oh, that is so cool. Awesome. Well, those are all the questions I have. Thank you so much for taking all of this time to do this with me. Like, this is so freaking cool. You just totally made my day.
You know what? You made mine. That was so fun to do and to live some of those moments. And you seem like just a wonderful person.
Oh, thank you. I just love Degrassi. That's it.
Well, I hope you do come and visit Toronto at some point. I would love to see you and meet you in person.
I would. Oh, then you could sign my book for me.
Yeah, I would happily do that. I will happily do that. But yeah, please stay in touch. And if there's anything you ever need, let me know.
Awesome. Okay, thanks.